Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist with I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. Well, guys, we're missing one half of the podcast today, but I have great news. Bradley Flowers was here a few moments ago. He has a young child, his daughter, who is incredibly beautiful. She has gotten sick at school, and as we as insurance agents all know, life happens and you have to just roll with the punches, and he had to leave the podcast today and go take care of his beautiful baby girl. So, in his absence, sitting in with me today from Arab, Alabama, my beautifully gorgeous wife, Kim Howell, is actually sitting in the podcast studio with me. How you doing, Kim?
I'm doing great, but I'm a little disappointed that there wasn't as much hype with that intro.
I understand.
Can we work on that just a little?
Next time, I will have you an intro put together that will blow you away.
Thank you. I'm worthy.
Guys, as Scott always says about being married or dating a beautiful woman, if you're going to drive a Ferrari, people are going to look at it. I just told Kim that at lunch today when some guy kept staring at her. So here we are. Guys, I am super duper excited about our guest today. We have got, one of the things I talk about on this podcast a lot is, we want to provide value to you agents. And one of the ways that we can do that is let you know, clue you in on new technology that is coming down the pike. And, our mission on this podcast is to help agents in any way we can. And one of those ways that we do that is when we hear about and find out about great technology that's out there, that's about to come online. We want to get these people on the podcast. And I've had the honor and the pleasure of actually getting to spend some time with the two guests that we have on the podcast today. They are fantastic guys, very knowledgeable, scary smart, know their stuff backwards and forwards. And so before I get started, I want to go ahead and introduce them today. They are originally from Highlands Ranch, Colorado, and they currently reside in Denver, Colorado. They were born into an insurance family, and in the mid-2000s, they came back to the family agency, and with the help of family, friends, and team members, they grew this family-owned agency from $5 million to $100 million in premium, spanning 10 states. During this process, they discovered gaping holes in available technology for independent agents in the independent agency channel, specifically after a policy was sold. So what do? What do scary, smart people do that have a high level of critical thinking skills? They start researching. They start talking to people within the industry. They start talking to carriers within the industry and other agents. And after the family business, the family agency sold, they created GloveBox. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and welcome the other incomparable Mr. Andy and Ryan Mathisen. How you doing, guys?
Excellent. Nice. I love the intro. Good work. I always get hyped listening to that regardless of episode. So
dude, I tell you what, let me tell you what you should be hyped about is all the things you guys have accomplished since you've been in the industry. I am so proud of you. I'm not only proud to know you, but just the more I find out about what you guys have accomplished since you've been in the industry, it's really amazing. We got to spend we got to spend 4 hours together about 3 weeks ago on a Saturday afternoon, and just talking to both of you, you're so knowledgeable. You know a lot of different things about technology, but you also have, and this is something Bradley and I absolutely love when we interview, people, is people that have come from the agency side and moved over to more of that InsurTech side. They seem to have a leg up because they understand what agents go through.
You got spot on, and that's why we wanted to jump in and make a big solution in the independent channel. And we'll, I'm sure, dive in all the details here soon. But I'll let Ryan jump in and say hello.
What's up,
man? I've never been in. What's up, Scott? Hey, Kim, how are you?
Great, thanks.
Hey, Ryan.
Awesome.
I tell you one thing. I tell you one thing, guys. I have not told my beautiful wife about, and that is the pancake breakfast that we're going to go to out in Las Vegas. I left that part of the story out. Yeah.
Pancakes. Nobody mentioned pancakes.
I look at the pancake breakfast as more of a team building exercise, and so if we look at it in that regard,
right.
Everybody should try it at least once.
You are so smart.
And of course, listeners don't quite realize what we're talking about, but it's okay.
That will be one topic of conversation that will not be brought up on the podcast after it's over. I can promise you that.
I love that's fair enough.
And Kim, you are invited too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
and because Bradley's not here today, he just misses that invitation.
Well,
it's okay.
You got to be present to win today.
Absolutely.
You got to be present to win today.
Absolutely. So, guys,
we love you, Bradley.
Exactly. So, guys, I want Ryan climb in the passenger seat of my DeLorean for me. Go back in time just a little bit and talk about how you and your brother Andy got into the business, how you kind of got started back in the family business, and then kind of work us up to today.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate that. We'll gun it to 88 in your DeLorean. I love it. And let's go back in time. So, as you mentioned, Scott, Andy and I grew up in an insurance family. My dad had a pretty funny journey, to be honest with you. He was a country agent way back in the day. He was a captive, for lack of a better term. But he was off the beaten path. And he had a funny story. What he would do is he had a Progressive phone on the other side of his office. And if the deal didn't fit with country, he would say, "Hey, call my Progressive rep and he'll help you out." And he would scamper across to the other side of the room and he would answer his phone as Progressive and he'd write the deal.
I love it.
Which is, yeah, exactly. Well, country didn't like that too much. So let's just say his opportunity with country was no longer available. So
right.
with a $30,000 loan from my grandma, he started his own independent agency back in the early 90s. I'm sure Andy can attest to this. I remember him sitting at our kitchen table 5 nights a week, following up on quotes that he had snail mailed out, 2, 3, 4, 5 days prior, and that was pretty much our early introduction into insurance and the grind that was. So,
and I was a little younger. I'm 30 now. I was about probably 6 or 7 when that was all going on. And so I recognized what it was, but didn't really see it firsthand personally until I was jumping and taking applications as a teenager for his agency. So, that was when I got my first hello to the insurance world, although I was kind of seeing the foundation of the agency being built regardless.
Hey, I got a question for you, and I'm gonna let you keep going, Ryan. So did you guys fall in line with most of the agents that I know who kind of came into the family business where for a period of time, maybe it was high school, maybe it was college, you kind of both told yourself that you'd never get in the insurance business?
Precisely.
It always makes you think of, have you seen the Tom Brady video?
Oh, yeah.
Where he's being interviewed. It must have been 15 years ago. And something happened. Maybe he got his first contract, starts bawling, like literally in tears. And he says, "At least I don't have to go sell insurance now."
Absolutely.
And it's priceless.
I think every insurance agent in America has seen that. And if I'm not mistaken, what happened was he was sitting at his house during the NFL draft after his senior year. And everybody's name kept getting picked, one after another, and they dropped down to like the 7th round, which is way, way, way down in the draft. And he looked at his mom and dad or somebody that was in there, and when he got drafted, he said something like, "Well, thank God, at least I don't have to go become an insurance agent."
And it's funny you asked that question because I actually swear to God, I have a elementary school diary that I wrote. Well, it says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And believe it or not, it does say insurance agent in there. I'm going to post that on social media for you, Scott.
That's unbelievable. So Ryan, I'm sorry I interrupted your story. So you got to the part where college is over and we kind of come back to the family business.
So college is over. I moved back to Colorado. I went to KU, Rock Chalk Jayhawks. So did Andy. Came on back. And I actually had a job in digital media at the time. Well, this is 2008 when the economy was not good at all. So trying to sell internet marketing to businesses was a tough proposition. Did okay in it, had a 3-year career there. And then one day my dad came to me and said, "Look, it's time. I need you to come into the agency. I want to grow this thing. I need some help." And so almost out of, moral obligation to, help the family, I got brought into the business, and that was my my entry points into, what I look back as is really a pivotal moment in my life.
Mm. And then Andy,
you
I
could
guess
probably talk about your.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. It was really just, I actually, right out of college, I went into not insurance technology, just a startup technology company down in downtown Denver. And did that for a year and a half. And I was like, all right, Mike keeps coming to me. Mike, my pops, keeps coming to me. He said, hey, now's the chance. Come do this. We have a huge need for a marketing director, someone who's going to lead generate for the company. Is that going to be you? And I kept saying, no. And eventually 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, I said, all right, let's do this thing. So jumped in at that point, took care of the tying up loose ends on website, social media, and then guerrilla marketing pretty heavily.
So I got to ask this question, guys. Our topic of conversation today is GloveBox, and we're going to get into what that is. But like, at what point during your agency adventures did you kind of both look at each other or talk to different people and go, you know what, there's a real need here that's not being met? When was that?
Yeah, that was roughly 4 years ago.
Mm.
End of 2015, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was sitting at my desk. We probably had 12 people at Colorado Insurance at that point, both sales and service. And I remember sitting in my little cube, and I was in a good year. It was my second year in insurance, selling insurance. I did $1 million in premium that year by myself. But the overwhelming amount of follow-up phone calls after I would issue policies, surprising to me. People calling it, where's my ID card? What carriers did you write me with? I've never heard of them before. Where's my policy documents? How do I pay a bill? Kind of all the elementary stuff. And I remember it was in the initial stages of when carriers were kind of rolling out their own native apps. Mm-hmm. I would say probably 30% had them, 70% did not. So I remember kind of having a list on my notebook of like, okay, who has apps? Who doesn't have apps? Mm-hmm. And after looking at that and me doing about 2 weeks of legwork, calling the carriers saying, hey, do you have something coming out? Is there a resource available? I looked at my list and I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if there was just a single app for all of these carriers? And that's kind of when the idea came to me.
That's remarkable. And so from the genesis of that idea, and I talk about this all the time, ideas mean nothing. We all have ideas. Everybody has things that they think about or talk about. Kim can tell you, from time to time, about once or twice a week, I have $1 billion idea. But without execution, without taking it from idea to execution, ideas are nothing. They're meaningless. So at some point in that process, Ryan, you took that from idea to execution. Now, was that after or before the agency sold? Did you start working on this?
It was probably a week after I had the idea.
Wow.
I'm not one to sit back on ideas. I'm a very impatient person. I don't know if you're the same, Scott. Kim, you could probably attest if he is or he isn't. But,
oh, absolutely. This goes right along with his quote that rewards come from actions, not discussion. That's what I've been sitting here thinking.
There you go.
Yep.
Rather have it that way than the opposite. So,
absolutely.
I started reaching out and making contact to carriers that next week. My first carrier meeting was with Safeco. And it was funny. I didn't really realize the scope of who I was talking to at the time. I was talking to their CTO and then a couple higher level people on their development team. And, I didn't have any sort of presentation. It was just an idea in my head that I wanted to pitch their way. And they were super kind enough to, let me talk about this idea. And so that's kind of how it started, trying to set meetings with carriers, really pitch the idea when I didn't even really have it formulated. It wasn't even half baked at that point. And that was kind of the initial process of how it went.
Now, I will step in and say back in that day when that was an idea, it did go dark for some periods of time. Like we weren't thinking about it. We weren't doing anything about it. We really started doing something about GloveBox, 2018, late 2018. So
I remember the day me and our business partner, Sean, were sitting at beers, of course, which were delicious. And we had been working on this thing for 2 years, like Andy said, on and off. And we finally looked at one another and we're like, look, man, somebody else is going to do this if we don't do this. And that is the day that we were like, all right, let's go.
And hey, can we talk about the name? Let's give a lot of credit to the name. Tell us where that originated from.
Oh my gosh, what a story. Real quick on that. So there was a gentleman out of New Orleans, and he actually owns the trademark to that name. So he actually went up against a big insurance carrier. Can I say who it is? Geico? Yeah, there's a lot of reports and online about it. It's public. Geico tried to come up with GloveBox and roll it out to their clients, and they actually got sued by this gentleman out of New Orleans, and he won. So they had to shut it down. Ryan actually found him on LinkedIn, reached out to him very kindly, and talked him through what we were looking to do, and he graciously gave us the opportunity to license the name.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So that's it, guys. We're at a seminal point in this conversation, and I know that every agent, all the 250,000 insurance agents from around the world, are waiting in anticipation. Let's talk about GloveBox. Let's deep dive into it. So it doesn't matter who does it, but let's talk about exactly what GloveBox is. And for the independent agency channel that's out there, the agents that are out there, let's tell them, more about GloveBox and just get down to the meat and potatoes of it.
So we recognize obviously that major gap in relationship between client, agency, and carrier, and there just is. And no one's using the portals of the carriers, no one's using the apps of the independent channel carriers. So we brought it all into one space. GloveBox allows a policyholder to access their policy documents, auto ID cards, regardless of the carrier that they're with. And that is the simple yet effective opportunity for alleviating tier one customer service from the agency, and the ability to brand from an agency perspective on the app, and for the carrier to do the same, which ultimately solves a couple different problems there. So, we really are off and running with that piece of the puzzle. Soon you will have the ability to pay a bill, start a claim, endorse a simple policy, or get that simple endorsement in place, I should say. And then we're actually in the works with a third party, a home advisor, to be able to request a vendor during the claims process as well, which is huge.
Well, I tell you, the one thing that really perked my ears up is when we started talking about white labeling the app. So if you're an independent agent, let's say you're Jackson Insurance out of Nashville, Tennessee. Well, that
we
app.
always use John Smith, by the way. John Smith is the name.
Right.
But didn't you met a John Smith agency, didn't you, Andy?
I met a John Smith.
Exactly.
Yeah.
His name was John Smith.
There you go. Well,
lucky.
the John Smith agency out of Nashville will have the opportunity to have a mobile app that connects with their carriers, and the mobile app, when it pulls up on your phone, it is going to be white labeled, which means the John Smith agency is going to show up on the app. Am I
Correct.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to, real quick, we've never really, we've done a bunch of podcasts talking about GloveBox, but we wanted to use your forum to really take the roof off the scope of this project, how big this project is, and the gravity of what we're creating for the independent channel. It's not as easy as this, we're going to throw together an aggregated app that allows you to do all these features. One thing that's very important to us that's different, and a lot of the insurance agents are probably asking themselves, how is this different than my agency management system, client-facing portal?
Right.
Well, it was very important to us to get direct connections to the carriers themselves so that we could bring more advanced features to the table, like paying a bill, like initiating a claim. A lot of the features that we're working on that are in beta right now that we can't really talk about. It was important to us to create a client experience that is, I wouldn't say expected by the client, but is unexpected by the client to really wow them, which is the missing piece in the independent channel, is that back end. And so think about trying to create these connections just for simple policy documents and billing with 150 carriers. And you're talking about 150 different operating systems, whether they're on a legacy systems, whether they're on Duck Creek, Majesco, Guidewire, and then within each carrier, they've got nuances of the way they set up those systems.
Right.
So just to get that simple functionality in an aggregated app, you can see the scope of the work that we've kind of bit off.
Right.
It's a big project.
And so the GloveBox app itself, if you're an independent agent, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but, sometime and probably, early 2020, this app is going to be available. If you're an independent agency owner, get with GloveBox and find out more details on how you can get it. But as you roll this thing out, can you talk through with these agents right now, kind of what that process will look like in terms of hey, I'm interested in getting the GloveBox app for our agency, how does that process work with the agent? Do they, go to glovebox.com, fill out some paper, fill out some online form, and then you guys call them and walk them through the process?
There's a couple of different avenues to be able to set up your white labeled product through GloveBox. Right now, you can definitely go to www.gloveboxapp.com/agency and get started on that onboarding process. You're going to see a demo video on there, or you can ask or request for a live demo that we can go back and forth on question and answer. The onboarding process is going to be pretty slick and simple for you to get started. Now, once that goes forward, we get your logo information, client list, and don't worry on that client list. Everything's secured and taken care of. But what we're really doing is going to build your app, get it prepared, let you approve it, and then we are on your behalf going to be letting your clients know that your agency has now powered with GloveBox. You can access your documents here, and we're sending out an email to them to get started. Now, it's going to be good for the agency to prep their clients from that point forward on what's going to happen, maybe on a welcome email after the policy has been issued. But that's kind of the simple yet effective rollout.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, do you want to talk about the GloveBox key that's coming into play here soon?
Yeah, the GloveBox key is probably one of our most exciting features. So with 95% of carriers, when users go to register for the carrier portal, one of the very first questions that's asked is, what's your policy number, right? I don't know about you, but I don't carry my policy numbers around with me.
Yeah, you're right.
So what that creates is a really bad friction point for the consumer to say, oh, I don't have my policy number. I'll either email my agent and get that back in a week, or I'll just deal with it later. So what we've done is we've created a really slick process, which I can't talk too much about the details of it, but essentially it's going to allow us to grab unique identifiers on a policyholder when their policies are issued. From there, we're going to be able to use that info to essentially register on that user's behalf to the carriers they're with.
Right.
And not till then are they going to get a text message and an email on behalf of the agency that they're written with, that their policies are ready in GloveBox for them. So it's going to be a very frictionless and easy process for that agency owner to get adoption from their clients without having to do anything, which is the goal.
That's amazing. So let me ask you this. Does it matter if you're an independent agent, regardless of the 25 different agency management systems that are out there? Is that really going to matter in terms of whether, they can use GloveBox or not? Does that have any play in this?
No, right now we are completely independent from the agency management systems. We wanted to build it that way.
Right.
One of the big reasons why, let's say you're with, agency management system A, and you decide, oh, you know what, I'm going to shift my entire agency over to agency management system B. Mm-hmm. Well, some of your clients were using the portal of agency management system A. Now you've got a mess on your hands and saying, how am I going to get those people to roll over to agency management system B and now use that portal? Mm-hmm. That whole process would be a nightmare. So we wanted to make it completely independent. However, using our system that we're getting info from on policyholders, we're also going to be able to push information to that system, which will then download into your agency management system as an agent. So you'll be able to see transactions made on GloveBox for service in your agency management system, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I gotta ask, going back to the agency that you guys were a part of, before we went full bore into getting into GloveBox, for these agents out here, I mean, you take a guy like me that hears that you and your family and your team members were able to grow an agency from $5 to $100 million in premium. Give us just a little bit of insight on how we were able to do that. I would love to hear, and I know the reason I'm bringing this up is I know when these agents listening to this, because I'm one of them, heard that you guys went from 5 million to 100 million. It's like, holy shit, how'd they do that? So Ryan, Mike Stromso says it best: big doors swing on little hinges. And sometimes incrementally small things you do can make a big difference within an agency. But what did you guys do once you got in there? What changes did you make? What tweaks did you make that really catapulted that agency from where it was to where you guys got it to?
So, Scott, this is Andy, and one thing I noticed in 2012 when I started with the agency is we were really working hard on having many departments, right, being very departmentalized, allowing individuals to focus on what they do best. Don't be overwhelmed with the process that comes with the territory of running an agency. So that was one thing. And kind of efficiently from top to bottom, marketing, quoting, selling, issuing, processing, and servicing all in separate phases, and doing that really well. So, and delegating resources for more time. We were a true melody relay race at that agency where we would hand the baton off and move on to the next, right? So we're getting that policy across the finish line in that kind of a phase. Now, we from a marketing perspective, we did what other agents and agencies didn't really focus on. They would go see their referral partners once, and that was it, right? So try and earn their business after one try. We were very persistent with our message, with our follow-through, doing this on a consistent basis. And where we see agents fail is typically by, insurance is not for everybody. It's not a sexy industry. It's not something that clients get excited talking about. That's just the way it is. So that being said, right off the bat, only about half of insurance make it because they get into the trenches and they find this out firsthand. But once they can get through the first 6 to 8 month hurdle, that roadblock for a producer, you can do your best to come to the point where you realize that you're going to be able to do this. And an inevitable fork in the road is to step outside your comfort zone and complete tasks that are necessary to be a good agent. It includes seeing your referral partners every single week and asking for opportunities and taking control of that sales process with a client to identify their gaps and overlaps possibly, and getting that solution. I'm making price a secondary piece of the decision. So, and then obviously you're looking to build rapport, to get referrals and asking for them and calling your ex-states and working. One big thing for us is working from the 15th of the month to the following 15th of the month, which allows you to build a pipeline within those even months. And that was a pretty big piece of it.
Did you guys do a lot of, you said that you were hired to come in and help kind of run the marketing side of that business. So when you got in, what changes, Andy, did you make to kind of increase lead flow and those types of things? You can paint with a broad brush. You don't have to be specific. But what changes did you make when you got in there?
So my sole purpose my sole role at the agency for the first give or take 5 years was hitting the pavement every single day, generating 7 to 10 leads every single day for a team of inside sales agents. And those were quality leads. These are not those are not phone book leads. Those are quality, typical mortgage broker leads that close 75% of the time, distributing them to an agent who quotes and sells, who then gets it over to the service team, who processes and services. So again, very departmentalized and just pushing quality leads through the door. So that persistency and getting my boots on the ground every single day, and then just making good friends out of these people, these referral partners.
So I'm going to move off that. I just wanted to bring that up because if I'm an agent listening to this podcast right now and I heard 5 million to 100 million, I would have been remiss had I not brought all that up to at least talk about for a second. But getting back to GloveBox, getting back to GloveBox for just a moment. So we've created GloveBox. It's about to hit the streets. My next question relative to GloveBox is, how have you guys been perceived and taken in by the InsurTech world? Because, technically, I guess that's kind of where you are. You're in that InsurTech world. Are you seeing a lot of pushback? Are you being accepted as one of their own? Or how's that work so far?
Yeah, that's a great question, Scott. Yeah, it's the InsurTech world is pretty welcoming from what we've seen. Honestly, I had followed it prior to GloveBox launching, and I had reached out to a couple influencers that I knew. Robin Kira from Sweden was one of them, and started talking to him. But honestly, our focus in the early stages of GloveBox, since we really didn't have a product yet, as we were trying to work with carriers, was marketing and really getting the word out of what the product is, what the problem is, and what we're trying to solve, right? And so through that marketing, which, candidly, our wives were running the marketing, but we had how many people, Andy, come up to us and ask us who ran our marketing for social media?
Yeah, it was ongoing. Ongoing.
Yeah. And so that was our primary focus, was getting the brand out, getting the name out. And from the InsurTech community, we were welcomed very well. I would say a lot of has to do with the fact that we were agents. We're speaking the language of the agents. We are sticking up for the independent agents who must have a voice in InsurTech. We're not going to let 100% of the InsurTech movement be ran by tech companies. Like, there needs to be an agent voice in the process. And so that's where we come into play.
I love that so much.
And Scott, I'm talking to hundreds of agents and agencies per week, per month, and they're validating what we're saying. These pain points from the consumer, from the agency, their phone lines are clogged, their emails are clogged with tier 1 customer service. They're distracted from making more sales, et cetera. So this is the inevitable solution to what's going to happen in the industry. Industry.
Yeah, what you guys have done is you're improving efficiency within the agency, because instead of Miss Jones calling to get her ID cards, she can, download the GloveBox app per agency and print off her own ID cards and go about her business. And then that leaves that agency another 5 minutes that they could be selling or doing something else. So it's just improving efficiency is what it's doing.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, opportunity costs, right? I mean, let's break down an independent agency in its most simplistic form. You get a lead, you quote the lead, you sell it, you issue the policy, then it gets either kicked over to service or the agent's doing the processing of the deal, right? And then it's on to servicing for the day-to-day. Like, that's the most simplistic process of an independent agency. And if you look at what's available currently, there's technology to suit every single aspect of that until you issue the policy. And then what? And then it becomes a 100% manual process. Which, that's where we saw the need. And so that's where GloveBox plugs in and says, hey, let's get you your opportunity cost back as an agent and an agency owner to go sell more insurance. Because I guarantee you 75% of the people that are calling for those requests, they don't want to be calling you either. So as much as you don't want to pick up the phone, they don't want to be calling for it either. So let's give them an opportunity to service the way they want, right? The way the consumer wants. And that's going to create more opportunity costs for our agents.
Well, yeah. And the beautiful thing about it is, and I talk about this all the time, is we all have our phone surgically attached to our arm. So, you talk about meeting the clients where they want to be met. That's where they want to be met. If they need something, they want to be able to hit their home screen, pop open the GloveBox app, type their name in, and boom, there's their policy, their ID cards, there's the claim number, those kinds of things. Last question, and then I'm going to let you guys go here in just a few minutes, but have you had a lot of blowback from carriers because you are working, this app works directly, it's utilizing direct information from the carrier. Have you had a lot of blowback from them, or are you seeing that the longer you're in this, the easier that gets working with different carriers?
Yeah, I would say definitely the longer we are in this, the better it's been. We've really gotten some good traction from our foundational carriers. And we were lucky to get some early adopters on board. And the hardest part with carriers is there's so many layers to that carrier. And then there's so many departments that need to be involved in what we're doing. The scope of work is so big that you need to get buy-in from the portal team, the tech team, the legal department, the security department. Then you got to get the C-level execs on board, right? And that's just to get a phone call. And then after that, it takes months for them to kick it around and think about it and make sure that it makes sense for what they're trying to accomplish. So it's a long, drawn-out process, but we've definitely seen it accelerate as, the on-demand expectations of consumers in the independent insurance channel is ratcheting up, which is every single day. They expect more on-demand results. And two, these carriers, when their distribution channel is their agents, they understand that, hey, if we're going to go all in on that distribution model, we need to give our agents the tools to be successful moving into the next 10 years, right? And so I think that's really propelled the conversation to go faster. And we're definitely getting a lot of headway, but it's a shift in mindset from the carrier side.
Absolutely. And I would also think that the bigger the carrier is that you get signed up to be a part of GloveBox, the easier it is the next time you call a large carrier, because you start doing a little bit of name dropping there and they're like, well, they're doing it, so we need to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of leveraging it. You would think, and in some cases that is correct. Other cases, carriers don't care. There's carriers that march to their own beat. They like to run independence, no pun intended. And, it's a challenge. And we know, just like any bell curve with an insurtech, like we're going to have our early adopters, which is what we're getting now. And we're really moving into the meat of our project where it's a lot of effort on our end to get it to go.
I will say, if you are an agent or an agency owner and you're listening to this and you download the app, and you see which carriers we are connected to, and you don't see your carriers or all of them, I should say. Talk to your marketing reps of those carriers. Have that push up the line and tell them you want GloveBox. You want them on GloveBox, right? So that should help the conversation with them as well.
You just took my question there. I was going to ask, like, what does an independent agent do if, they're writing a bunch of a particular carrier and they look on there and that carrier's not on GloveBox yet, and you just answered that question. Is there a delineation in there between personal lines and commercial relative to, some agencies are more commercial oriented, some are more personal lines oriented? Does it work for both, or is this more of a home and auto type application for your GloveBox app?
Yeah, so right now we are 100% personal lines. And the reason why is, we got to start somewhere, right? And personal lines is a lot more simplistic than commercial is. Scott, as you know, commercial that's a whole nother animal.
Right.
And we really want to earn the trust of the carriers. We want to earn the trust of the agencies. And then most importantly, we want to earn the trust of the policyholders. They can get used to the platform, used to using it. And from there, commercial will, I can't tell you, Andy, how many times a week do we get asked about commercial?
Right.
I would say it's just as often as personal lines. So we're definitely wanting to jump into that once we get back to this side.
And the commercial agent in me knows that you need it.
Yeah, well, exactly. But Ryan, you're exactly right. It goes back to rewards start from action, not discussion. You got to start somewhere. So, I think the home and auto side of it actually makes more sense to start with. And then once we get that dialed in, then we can move over and start looking at how do we get this app going for the commercial agency force that's out there as well. So I completely understand that. That makes perfect sense.
And we've got kind of an interesting, I don't want to call it a side project, but we've got something interesting we're working on in addition to everything else that we're working on. So we're kind of on a mission. We're working with the Colorado DMV right now. We're gunning to be one of the first to offer digital vehicle registrations in GloveBox.
Wow.
So not insurance related, but think about the impact that has, not only for the consumer. Hey, I get pulled over. I've got my updated registration, my updated insurance. What an easy and stress-free process that is. But for the agency owners and for the carriers, think about the audience that they just adopted as well by getting involved with GloveBox, because now if GloveBox is one of the main outlets to get your auto registrations, that is combining two industries that have never been together and putting them into one piece of technology. And so we find an interesting, intertwining of two separate industries there.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And those do kind of, at first blush look like a hand-in-glove relationship. Well, guys, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you being on this show today. I'm excited about GloveBox. I think I speak for Bradley. I know he's excited about it as well. And before I let you go, before I close this out, tell us one more time, doesn't matter which one does it, but if an agent hears this podcast and they want to reach out to you guys and learn more about GloveBox to see if this is a good fit for their agency, tell them again how they get out there and get to you.
Yeah, and if you mention this podcast, this episode, and you use the code Insurance Guys, you're going to get a month free on the white label. So we do our pricing by the number of clients that you have at your agency. We can talk about those pricing, and you'll see it on the landing page, which is www.GloveBoxApp.com/agency, or you can reach out to one of us via LinkedIn, Ryan Mathisen, Andy Mathisen. We'll get you taken care of. And one final piece, I know we talked about a lot here, but we talked about the home advisor piece. We're going to have something in there soon coming down the pipe called a claims concierge. This allows an individual to request a vendor, say I need a roofing company, an auto body shop, etc., request a vendor, and we're essentially allowing home advisor to take care of that lead flow for us. But whatever we make on revenue on that, we're giving 20% back to the agency of that client. So
That's
John
cool.
Smith is your client. He requests a vendor. We take care of that process. We're giving the agency 20% of revenue.
That's pretty cool. Well, guys, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you being on the show. I love both of you, and I'm so proud of you. I feel like a proud daddy, especially after I got a chance to meet you. Once I got a chance to meet both of you and figure out how scary smart you are and how much you guys know not only about the industry, but about the independent channel in and of itself, because you were a big part of it at one time. Bradley and I both just felt like we had to get you on the podcast. And as I said at the beginning of this show, our responsibility is, don't care if you use something or not, but we want to get new technologies that are out there in front of these guys. We want to be the Inc. magazine of the insurance world, and because so many people don't know about all the new technologies, and a lot of it's changing, and a lot of it's companies like GloveBox are coming on board, and it's our responsibility to take the microphone and tell people about it, so at least they know it's out there. And if that helps y'all in some way sell more GloveBox apps, then great. That's fantastic. So I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you both being on the show today.
We love it, Scott. We're humbled to be on the show. I mean, you and Bradley are the Shaq and Kobe of the podcast insurance industry. So,
which one's Shaq, though?
I'm going to let you guys figure that out.
Bradley.
I'm going to let you guys figure that out. But, hey, it's so great having Kim on today. Thanks so much, Kim. And
I have three things before we leave. Number one, I really admire your hard work ethic. Very old school and come from a hard raising, so I admire that, number one. Number two, let's make number two. I'm super impressed with GloveBox, your ability to be thoughtful through the whole process and work out some of the quirks beforehand. That's very impressive. Number three, pancake breakfast.
Yes, even though she doesn't know what that is.
Oh my gosh.
I bet
pancake breakfast.
She won't like it.
My second best thing I ever invented. GloveBox 1, pancake 2 in that order.
Well, I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead.
That's the way it goes.
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and close this thing out. Insurance agents from around the world, remember, rewards come from action, not discussion. You've got to find out about these new technologies that are hitting the industry, whether you use them or not. At least now you know about it. And get your ass out from behind that desk today and go sell insurance. Make money for your family, for your wife, for your husband, for your kids, for your parents that are struggling. Write good business for the agencies that you represent, and write good business for the companies that you represent. Kim Howell, I love you.
I love you more.
More than anything in the world. Hey, guys, y'all have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you back here real soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. If you need to know more about me or you need to get in touch with Scott, you can always reach me at theinsuranceguyonline.com or email me at iprotectins@gmail.com. And if you need to get in touch with Mr. Bradley Flowers, go to bradleyflowersinsurance.com or email him at bradley@saralandinsurance.com. Guys, we love you. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to being with you again real soon on the next episode of The Insurance Guys. Take care.